All right, we're ready to have some fun. Welcome to the latest edition of Upon Further Review. First of all, we'd like to take care of some business. Four businesses that help us do what we do. Our sponsors, that's Troy Allen, Chevrolet Buick GMC, Conlon Tarker, Butler Health System, and Penn United Technologies. I got on my left, sports writer for the Butler Eagle, Mike Kilroy. On my right, John Henrietta, sports editor of the Butler Eagle. Guys, we're actually a man down this week. Usually is my hair accompanies us, but I finally got a chance to get it cut.
Boy, you did get it chopped
and
off.
I got it chopped off, and I feel like I lost 5 pounds.
Yeah, that was pretty unruly. Just said you sort of looked like a hippie.
This sitting in a host seat must have gone to your head, quite literally, actually.
It did.
It
did. I lost 5 pounds with it. I waited after they cut it. But speaking of losing, some of our teams suffered some really tough losses last week. In particular, two teams I'm thinking of, Karn City and Slippery Rock. We also had other teams that kind of kept the ball rolling. Got some big wins. Mike, what stuck out for you about week number 5?
Yeah, whatever week number it is. It's a long debate.
It's actually 4. Week 4.
Week 4, week 5, whatever. I wasn't at the Karn City game, but reading about it, man, I wish I was. John, thanks for not giving me that game. Thanks for giving me the Freeport onslaught.
I can throw myself a bone every now and then.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Throw myself a bone.
You get to make the schedule, so you get the plum game. That game looked like a crazy game, one of those games that you remember for a long, long time. Karn City fell just short, but there is a little controversy there, right, at the end of the game.
Yeah, that certainly was.
That Hunter Rowe actually crossed the goal line with the 2-point conversion, which would have given Karn City the win. There seems to be some photographic evidence. It was a Zapruder film, if you will, of the questionable call at the end of the game. So that stuck out. We'll see how that affects Karn City going forward. Union AC Valley, man. Last week I was on their bandwagon. I'm like driving it now. I'm like in the driver's seat. I got the foot pressed down on the gas. All my friends are in the back. So Union AC Valley. Oh, nice. Union AC Valley, way to go. 36-7 over Elk County Catholic. They're rolling along. Those are what sticks out to me. On that and Teddy Ruffner doing Teddy Ruffner things. He's the Christmas toy everybody wants. Everyone wants a Teddy Ruffner for Christmas.
That's right.
So, I'm sure Mars would like to be playing up to almost Christmas with Teddy Ruffner leading the way.
Teddy Ruffner doing Teddy Ruffner things is bad news for the opponents. John, what stuck out for you about week number 4?
Well, kind of echo Mike's comments. Really, I was fortunate enough to cover that Brookville Karn City game. What a crazy game! Just big time rushing numbers for Karn City, big time passing numbers for Brookville, and it did come down to the second overtime. Karn City scoring would be technically the tying touchdown, but instead of tying the game officially with the extra point, they decided to go for the win and go for the 2.
Which was a good call, by the way.
Oh, that was a great call.
It was a great call because you win it or lose it right there because you weren't stopping Brookville. You were going to end up going to another overtime. You were going to have to score to get the ball back and score right after that to probably keep it alive because Brookville's going to score. So sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. Yeah,
but that was the right call to do there.
Well, Joe Sherman, the Karn City coach, I think he hit the nail on the head there after the game when he said that the time just felt right to do it.
Oh yeah,
right
you
got
to do it there.
I mean,
so right there.
And it was a great play call too because Karn City was gouging the Brookville to the right side of Karn City's line. Was gouging holes open the entire game, and they went that way with an apparent option on that 2-point conversion play. But the Karn City quarterback, Anthony Kaminsky, rolls to the right maybe 3 or 4 steps, suddenly stops, turns, throws the ball to the left flat. Hunter Rowe is the only one over there. Catches the ball, looks like he's in a waltz in. But Ian Thrush, who just has incredible speed and quickness, came pretty much across from the middle of the field all the way over toward the left sideline, made a lunging tackle and got Hunter Rowe. To be honest, to defend the officials on that play because it was controversial. If they had said he scored there live, I don't think anybody would have argued or complained. And they ruled that he didn't score. And I don't think anyone argued. No, I don't know if they would have because I don't think because the play was that close. It was inches either way, whether he scored or not.
We need instant replay in high school football.
No, we don't. We
need Al Riveron.
No,
we need to go to New York and get his take.
Well, is Tom Wagner going to be the high school Al?
Why not?
That could have been.
Why not?
No, we do not need that.
What's he doing? He's retired. He can do it.
You definitely have a controversial ending, but what a football game! I mean, Ian Thrush is receiver for Brookville, 12 catches, 305 yards, 5 touchdowns. Are you kidding? Those are crazy numbers at any level of football. Then you got Corn City, Anthony Quensky rushes for over 100 yards. The fullback, Luke Gehring, if I could name escape me for a second. Luke Gehring, he goes over for 100 yards. Only a sophomore. He's only playing because Mitchell Kelsey is, hurt and out for the season with the knee injury. But what a game! But so yeah, that game, and I agree. Union AC Valley's win over Elk County Catholic. Not only the fact that they beat them, but the 36-7. To me, that's a program-changing kind of win. It really is. That's going to drive them the rest of the season. I expect really big things out of the Pop Knights.
Yeah, they go on the road and they take it to, I don't know, I wouldn't call them a great team, but
they're pretty decent team.
Very solid program, and to do that on the road by that score, that's an eye-popping win to me.
Took them out to the woodshed.
Yep. I will say one thing about I did pick Brookville to beat Karn City, but I didn't think it was going to be that close. So credit to Karn City for basically coming within inches, literally, of beating Brookville. So. We're going to move into our topics of discussion. The first one, we're going to focus on District 9 and 10 here for a few minutes. Both of those districts used to have leagues. In District 10, it was the French Creek Valley League, the Erie County League. Mike, these were the leagues that were in place when you started at the Eagle. The Mercer County League, which was in place, that's what Slippery Rock and Grove City used to compete in. And of course, in District 9, it was the Allegheny Mountain League and the Keystone Shortway Athletic Conference. Now, District 10 did away with those leagues 16 years ago. They moved to the region format, which is still in place back in 2003. And District 9 just moved to a different format last year, just last year. But the reason they moved to those different formats is in the old league format, you had cases where a team in your league might be 2 classes smaller or bigger than you. Had cases where a single A team was going up against a triple A team, a case where a double A team was going up against a quad A team. Now, what they have now is that everybody in a region in District 10 or in a conference in District 9 is either the same class or one class on either side of you. Mm-hmm. The big drawback is it's much longer road trips. So instead of traveling 30 minutes down the road to face a team that's much bigger than you, you're playing a school that's of the similar size, but you're also driving 2.5, 3 hours to get there. So I want to get your guys' take. Which one would you rather have? I'm going to start with you, John. Would you rather have closer games against teams that are a variety of classes, or games that are of similar class, but you have to drive 2.5 hours to get there?
Well, you know what? I see District 10 and District 9 as 2 totally different situations. The reason being the geographical size of those 2 districts. District 10 is basically from Erie to here, from Erie to Slippery Rock. That's basically District 10.
Right.
District 9, as you guys well know, it's huge. I mean, it covers so much territory, and to me, Montauk. I'll go back to last Friday night. Montauk having to go to Bradford or vice versa for a regular season game to me is just ridiculous. I mean, I don't care if it's competitive. It turned out wasn't even that competitive a game, a 28-0 score. But to me, high school football should be for the student body to be able to go to games. How many Montauk kids do you think packed up and drove up to Bradford to watch that game? I mean, as opposed to if they play somebody closer to home. That's my biggest problem with the District 9 change from last year. Is that, maybe the games are more competitive, although I'm still seeing a lot of blowouts in D9. I'm still seeing a lot of blowouts. But it's kind of taken away from the student body. They're just not going to get to some of these road games. They're too far away. That's my argument.
There's no perfect solution because of everything John said and you said. The geographical makeup of these 2 districts makes it almost impossible to balance competitiveness with distance. You just can't do it. The Whipple is easy because you have so many teams and they're all clustered pretty much close together. Right. So we can go into
the Whipples. I mean, we're spoiled down here. We're spoiled down here.
There's some road trips there,
right.
But it's not Montauk Bradford.
No.
So the only way to solve this is, we can argue, we can go off on another topic that Karn City and Silver Rock should be in different leagues than what they're in, or different districts than what they're in. But that's the district they're in, so that's the district schedule they have to play. To me, I think I understand John's point, the student body, who's going to go from Montauk to Bradford, but I think you have to have a balance. You have to have a schedule where you're playing teams that are close to your size to make it competitive. John had a good point. You're still seeing blowouts, but at least the blowouts are because the teams are better, not because they're bigger. So that's my point. Is you still have to play a certain size team. Now, maybe you don't do it by enrollment. I think in football in particular, instead of doing it by student enrollment, they should do it by roster size. Because that's really where the rubber meets the road when you're talking about a football team is your roster
Mike
size.
Tomlin.
No, seriously.
I heard that from Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Montauk, they have 20 some kids. Mm-hmm. Why don't they put all the teams that have 20 some kids on their roster in the same class instead of the enrollment size? Because enrollment doesn't always dictate or indicate how many kids you have for football.
Butler football.
Yeah, but here's the problem though with that, Mike. The problem with it is how at what point? You still have to. You need time to put a schedule together. At what point are you going to know what a team's roster is going to be?
You have a pretty good idea. You're going to have a pretty good idea what your numbers are going to be long before the season starts. Put a sign-up sheet out, or have a. You can even put. Colleges have spring games. Have a spring week of practice, and that's your roster.
Give each team a dedeadline.
If you
go by that, and I'm not saying this jokingly, but if you go by that, then Butler this year should be playing the Union, AC Valleys, and Montauk.
Oh, what's their roster size?
That's your roster size. That's your roster size.
No, they have 40-some?
No, they have 30-some.
I thought they were in the 40s.
Well, they were also at the start of the year. They had 40.
They had 47 when they started the year.
They had 40 players.
They're also in the Whitbill. They wouldn't be playing.
Well, I know, but I'm just using that I'm just using Butler as a small example of this.
I will acknowledge. I'll definitely acknowledge that the longer drives are definitely a drawback. But I look at one team in particular, Union AC Valley. If District 9 was still, organized the way it used to be, Union AC Valley would be playing Clarion. They'd be playing Clarion this year. Right. Because that's an old rivalry. I mean, those schools had a long time rivalry with Clarion. And in District 9, in single A, which is what Union AC is, you either make or miss the playoffs based on your regular season record, regardless of the teams you play. Your regular season record determines, and Union AC has a good team this year. What would they do against Clarion? They would get beat. I
wouldn't mind seeing them play Montauk and City this year. It wouldn't bother me at all.
Yeah, but
they could beat them. They could beat them.
Let's say Union AC Valley makes the playoffs.
How many years are they going to be able to beat them? Maybe 1 out of every 10.
Well, things change from year to year. I mean, Coin City struggled last year in football. I mean, things change from year to year. I mean, plus it's not every single game is not going to be like Clarion. There's only so many Clarions out there, and especially in District 9. I mean, I just think high school football you should play your neighborhoods. To me, it's just gotten way out of hand the other way. I mean, I understand you guys' points, but to me, it's just gotten way out of hand the other way. Some of these travel for regular season high school football, it's just crazy.
Butler would be in with knock. Now Butler would actually be competitive in that section.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that encourage more kids to come out for football? Hey, we're not going to go 0-10. We're going to go maybe 5-5.
I'm not arguing
that. Then maybe they go to 60-70, and they can go back where they belong.
I'm not arguing that point at all.
I'm just saying that might be a better way of classifying teams is by roster sizes in football rather than enrollment.
The only problem with that is it's great in theory to go that route, but the only problem would be you would have to declare your roster size by at the latest by late spring, so they could.
You think these football coaches don't know how many kids they have in late spring? They're going to have.
I'm sure, but it's got to be official. But the difference is it's got to be official. I mean, it's got. You would have to
do is make it official.
Declare your roster size.
This is what we have. This is our roster. It's going to be a range.
Get control there. Get control there.
There's going to be a range. There's a range with
take the reins of the show here. I will bring up one thing about District 9. And I'm just looking at one school here that we don't have.
Kind of went off the tangent there.
Yeah, we did.
Bradford. They are a Quad A program. So if you played schools that were just close to you, what other Quad A program in District 9 is even close to Bradford? The next closest one's Du Bois.
Is there anybody close to Bradford? Really?
Well, that's a problem with District 9. Again, that's the geographical size of that district. It's just a huge district geographically, and there are always going to be problems when you have one district with that few schools.
Especially an outlier like Bradford.
Yeah, there's always going to
New York Lake.
There's always going to be a problem no matter how you do it.
They could be playing in New York Lake.
Yeah, they could be
closer.
Right.
Closer travel.
You're right.
We are going to move on, thankfully. Sorry I brought that up, guys. This show, we love making predictions, but I want us each to eat a little bit of crow here. We've all made predictions, and some of them, have turned out pretty good where we look smart. Other ones make us feel like we should be wearing a clown suit.
What somebody did years ago. We won't point to that, though.
What game in particular do you remember, John, where you picked an outcome, and not only did the other team win, but the outcome was drastically different from what you predicted?
Real easy question for me. I'll just go back to Friday night. I'm going back to that Union AC Valley Elk County Catholic game. I mean, I picked Elk County Catholic to win rather healthily. I forget the score I put down, but I know it was a fairly sizable win. Yeah, do you have my score from last week?
Go to the videotape.
What was my score for that game?
21-13.
Okay, it wasn't that bad. 21-13, but 36-7 for Union AC Valley. I mean, that game totally blew me away, and
I'll point that out later.
That score totally blew me away. That's the game that I misfired on very, very badly from what I can recall.
Mike, when did you look goofy?
Well, I have to go a lot further back than John because I was 10-0 last week, so. I can't. Obviously, last week I didn't have.
I was going to bring that up later, but that's okay.
But
if Mike Kilroy had a horn right now, he'd be going. Toot, toot.
I'm going to go all the way back to my very first year here, very first week of the football season here. Sibirac-Katanning played. That was the first game I covered. I did the preview for it. After talking to the two coaches, I was like, "Oh, Siberic's going to win. They're going to roll in this game." Just by the way, the two coaches talked about their teams. So I predicted something like 35-7, Sibirac. Mm-hmm. Katanning won 40-0. So that's by far the worst prediction I've ever had since I've been here.
I'm going to go back to, actually, last week, I like you, picked Elk County Catholic to win, and Union AC crushed them. So that's certainly one. But I'm going to go back to a playoff game in 2010. West Allegheny in 2010 was the defending Whitfield Class 3A champion. In the quarterfinal round that year, they played Mars. And Mars, at that point, had only been a AAA team for, I think that was a third season. For the longest time, they were AA. Mars had a good team that year. They won their first-round playoff game, I believe, against Hollidaysburg. And they were getting ready to play a quarterfinal matchup against West Allegheny at NA. And I said, okay, here's where Mars' season ends. Mars is a good program, but they're facing a proven program in AAA. Defending champ Bob Palco had 5 Whitfield championships on his mantle, and I know I picked West Allegheny to win that game by at least 2 or 3 scores. I covered the game. Mars beat them 29-3. You talk about eating some crow. That was a big bird for me to take down.
I'll tell you what, I'm pretty impressed with you guys' memories. You can go back into the previous season and remember these football picks. I don't remember what I had for dinner last night, and you guys can remember this stuff. I'm impressed by this.
Because we're not as old as you, John.
I think that's what it is. I'm impressed.
I will say this. There was one year when we made our predictions, I was like 9 behind somebody. So I had to. I actually gambled. I actually predicted like opposite of him. The last week I went like 1-12 or 1 whatever. We had more teams then, like 1-11. So.
But you went for it though.
But
you had to go for it.
You got to win. So I didn't.
Not that our viewers need to be reminded of this, but just remember when we make picks, we're all prone to the bad pick here and there. So that just proves it. Those are just a few examples. So
and our picks are for entertainment purposes only. We went up.
Yeah. Don't put money on our picks. We're going to move to our over/under segment, and Knock football through 5 games has given up 33 points. That's pretty impressive. Now the number on here, I'm going to change it just a bit. I'm going to put the over/under for the rest of the season at 66.5. Now I know that's a weird number, but the reason I do that is if Knock can give up 66 or less points the rest of the way, that would be under 100 for the regular season. And I'm not good at math, but I do know that if you give up 100 in 10 games, that's less than 10 points a game. How about that? That's Clarion University.
You're all over that, man.
Okay, so Mike, I'm going to move to you first. The toughest part of Knox's schedule remains 66.5 points. Can the Knights be under that, or are they going to go?
They're going to go over that because South Fayette's going to take a big chunk out of that over/under. I think with that offense, it's not going to be much over. I see them giving up maybe in the 70s the rest of the season. They're still going to end up with a great record. They're going to end up with a great defensive season. Still giving up 110, 120 points, or 110. It's still 11 points a game. Again, that's Kent State University math going right there. So I think still that's nothing to shake a stick at. So shake a pen at, or shake anything at. So that's like I said. I think South Fayette's going to take a chunk out of that.
John,
it's going to make it hard.
Your thoughts?
Well, I failed trig in high school, so I'm not going to address anything math-wise like you guys just did.
Plus, you went to OU, so.
I went to OU. That's why I'm in journalism. I'm not a math.
Two Mac boys here.
But anyway, I looked at Knox's last 5 games. You got Montour this week. You got South Fayette, Newcastle, Trinity, and Freeport. All 5 of those teams are capable of scoring points. I mean, and a couple of them, as Mike alluded to, South Fayette's been rolling teams. I'm not saying they're going to roll Knox, but they will get the scoreboard on Knox, certainly. So I'm going to go over as well. I think averaging 66.5 is averaging. They would have to average just right around 13 points a game to get under that. That's a tall order playing against this caliber of competition. Plus, another factor you guys may not be aware of, James Johnson, who's an outstanding linebacker on defense, out for the season, broke his tibia and fibula last week. So he's done for the year. And Knox does have some personnel they can reshuffle in there. I've already talked to Coach Mowry, and they're going to retool that defense a little bit, but that's a blow, and that's going to hurt them a little bit on defense.
Well, I'm gonna go the other way here. I do think that between their game with South Fayette and Newcastle, that's where the brunt of the points scored against them are going to come the rest of the regular season. But I could see them giving up 45, 50 points combined in those 2 games. But I think there's a couple shutouts against those other teams. I really do.
Oh, you're looking right by Montour.
Just like last year.
Montour's that sleeper.
There's another game I missed last year. I guaranteed our viewers that
you
would beat
You did do that. Yeah. We all missed that.
Not one of my finer moments. I'm going to go under here. I think they get just under. They finish the regular season with less than 100 points given up, which would be really impressive.
Don't sleep on that Freeport offense either. If they're healthy,
they do.
So healthy by the end of the year. They can put up some points in a hurry.
Our next and for this week last over-under is going to deal with our wide receivers. Nick Mayer for North Catholic has 371 receiving yards through 4 games. They've only played 4. They didn't play in week 0. No other player in our coverage area has 275 yards receiving. So this one's really simple. Basically, is there another receiver that gets past 500 other than Nick Mayer? 1.5, over or under, John? What do you think?
I'm going under. I don't see another guy doing it other than Mayer. I mean, we just don't seem to have that standout pass catcher this year. But other than him,
way over. There's going to be a couple.
Way over.
Brody Woods is going to go over 500 yards. He might already be close to 500 yards after last week. He's a number 1 target for Schaffhauser at Freeport. He's one of the better route runners I've seen in high school, and Schaffhauser throws a great deep ball, so he's going to go over. I think one of the Sibrock guys, Duffalo or Hyatt, are going to go over. Mm-hmm. So that's at least 2, and there might be another one here and there. So I think we're going to have 4 total, 3 in addition to Mayer.
Yeah, I'm going to go over here too, because I look at the guys that are in that 225 to 275 range. If they basically put up their average in 4 games and have 1 big game, that could be enough to put them over the 500 mark. So I'm going to side with Mike here. Sorry, John.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. Remember, we're moving into the second half of the regular season there. Weather's going to start to get a little bit worse on some of these Friday nights. That's going to affect the passing games.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Nice comeback, though.
Whatever.
On to the picks. First of all, I was going to point this out, but I'll say it for a second time because Mike already said it.
I think Skip Bayless's argument was whatever once.
Whatever.
Mike had our second perfect week of the season this year. John went perfect 2 weeks ago. Mike went perfect this past week, 10-0. Scoop and I both went 9-1, and John had a good record at 8-2.
Brought up the rear, though. Brought up the rear.
Where's Scoop now?
Scoop is 37-13, and I don't know if he is worse than Office. I don't know if that's ever happened where we've all had a better record.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
No, Scoop's always.
He's going to get kicked out of his nest.
Scoop's beak is kind of dropping low a little bit these days.
Well, he had that one great season last year. You know, sometimes you have that Super Bowl hangover.
He got complacent.
He's got the Super Bowl hangover.
He got too big for his nest.
He's got the state championship / Super Bowl hangover.
On to the picks for Week 5. We got first matchup. Butler, who last week I covered Butler against Seneca Valley, John, and they only dressed 27 players.
Yep.
Rough spot for Coach Christie and that group. They're going to Norwin. John, who do you like here? Butler at Norwin.
Yeah, out of those 27 players Butler dressed last week, only 10 were juniors and seniors. That was pretty much a JV team that they're fielding right now. Now, I think they'll compete a little better against Norwin. They're not going to beat them, but I think they'll compete a little bit because Norwin's line is not that strong, and I think Butler's line and there's Butler starting 4 sophomores and a freshman up front right now, and I do think that the line can compete with Norwin. They'll be competitive, but I think Norwin still wins 27-14.
Mike,
what? You just have to feel bad for Butler. It's like you think one of these years, one of these days, it could catch a break. I mean, 27 players healthy, 10 of them upper class or junior seniors. How are you supposed to compete in 6A with that kind of numbers?
You can't. That's what you can't.
You can't. And even going at Norwin against a Norwin team that's, they're still going to struggle. Norwin's going to win 35-14.
I covered, as I said, the second game last week. And I will say against Butler, and if anybody, you talk to Eric Christie every week.
Yep.
I talked to him last week.
Mm-hmm.
The coach they need in place is a guy who stays positive and finds ways to keep the kids' mentality, their spirits up week to week. And he seems to be the coach that's able to do that.
No question. Yep.
So I don't like Butler this week. They're going up against an offense that Jack Salopek, the quarterback for Norwin, doesn't have incredible numbers. I got him down for 700 yards passing and 5 touchdowns, but it's going to be too much for that undermanned Butler team.
He is a third-year starter too. That's a big factor.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
I'm going
to Western Michigan, by the way.
I'm going to pick Norwin in this game, 29-7. What was your score?
35-7 or 35-14. Excuse me, 35-14.
A game that is a rematch of a playoff game last year, played between North Allegheny and Seneca Valley. Now, last year NA beat Seneca in the regular season 10-6. Seneca Valley got NA back, and a game you covered last year. They got them back in the playoffs.
Yep.
Seneca Valley won the playoff game to reach the Whitfield Championship game. This time, Seneca Valley's hosting NA. John, who do you like here?
First slobber knocker of the week, in my view, right here. I have NA winning a nail biter, low scoring defensive fight, 17-14 NA.
Tigers or Raiders?
This is a tough one because Seneca Valley got healthy last week against Butler. They probably were able to iron some things out against Butler last week. It looks like they were able to do that. But still, it's home too for Seneca, which I tend to lean a little bit toward the home team and take games like this. But I'm still going to go with NA. I think it is going to be a close game. I'm going to go with 21-18 NA.
You know what? I got to be honest Derek, before you make this pick. I think when NA plays at Seneca Valley, I don't think either team has a home field advantage because the schools are so close together. I think when
you still have the student body.
Yeah, you do. But I think when NA hosts Seneca, I think Seneca has a huge turnout, and vice versa. When Seneca Valley hosts NA has a huge turnout. I think it's kind of the same.
I think a big key to this game is going to be Seneca Valley's ability to stop the run. After their opening game, which they lost up at McDowell, they gave up a lot of rushing yards in that game. Since then, they've been playing pretty good against the run. But as you know, usually NA brings a little bit more to the table than most teams as far as, up front, some talent at the halfback position. I like NA's running game to get enough crucial yards and obviously points in this game to win. I'm taking the Tigers 24-16. All right, here's a game that I screwed up royally last year. Montour at Knox. This year, Knox hosting Montour. Last year, the game was down there. I'll get you later. Mike, what do you think about this
Get me
Montour
later.
knock game? Montour knock.
Knock's going to keep on rolling, and that defense is going to keep on playing well against Montour. Matt Goodland's going to have a big game. I'm going to say 21-6 knock.
John, what say you?
I say this is Slobber knocker number 2, and no one expects it to be that way, but it's going to be that way, and I'll tell you why. Montour, they're only 1-4. They lost to Moon by 4. They lost to Newcastle by 7. They lost to Aliquippa, a very good Aliquippa team, by 2 touchdowns. Blackhawk beat them by 1 touchdown. And Montour always gives Knock a fight. This will be no exception. But this time, Knock will prevail. But I'm picking the Knights 28-21.
All right, I'm not guaranteeing it this year, but I feel pretty confident that Knock's going to come out of this with a win. Montour's only win. You mentioned that some of their games have been close.
Yep.
That's true. Their only win is against Laurel Highlands.
And they blew them out.
Right. I like Knock in this game 29-12. I can almost guarantee it this year. Almost guarantee it.
98.6%.
I still have to remind myself that Shaler and Mars are now in the same class. I mean, Shaler was for the longest time a conference opponent of Seneca Valley and Butler.
They were.
Now they're in a 5A conference, the Northern Conference, with Mars. And you got the Planets hosting Shaler. Both teams are 1-1 in the conference, so this is a big game moving toward the tail end of the season to try to get that positioning in the conference for the playoffs. Titans or Planets? Who do you like?
Well, you could say stop Teddy Ruffner and stop Mars, but the problem with that is I don't see anyone stopping Teddy Ruffner. He just continues to roll along. I think Mars hits their stride right now. I mean, I think a nice win for them. Last week, 3 touchdowns, whatever, Armstrong. I think they keep on rolling. I pick Mars 35-20.
Mike.
Teddy Ruffner beats Shaler by himself.
Oh, come on. He needs line now. Come on.
He scores another 5 touchdowns. I'd say 35-17 Mars.
35-17. All right.
Scores all 5 touchdowns.
I'm taking the Planets in this one, 28-17. I think Shaler, we didn't mention this, a few years ago, Shaler was really down. They went through, 3 regular seasons where they didn't even win a game.
They had a long losing streak.
So they're back, and obviously I still think they can make the playoffs, but playing Mars at the MAC, at Teddy Ruffner, it's a tough road to hoe for the Titans. I like Mars in this game, 28-17. Next up on our list is Freeport at York, and I'm dubbing this game our only win this season is against Uniontown Bowl. York's only win is against Uniontown, 25-0.
That's a long bowl, name for a bowl.
It's better than the Insight.com. Some of these bowls that college teams play. And Freeport's only win is against Uniontown. It actually came this past week. So you got Freeport at York down at Cougar Mountain.
Yep.
John, you had an experience there one year.
I did. That was a long time ago.
Who do you like in this one? Freeport York.
Well, Dustin Schoaf, the outstanding running back from York last year, he's graduated at 1,900 yards. I graduated with him, and York's offense has not been the same. 3 of the 5 games, 6 points or fewer. That includes a 40-6 loss to Borough, 9-0 to Sarah Catholic. 61-3 they lost to Deer. Or I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 61-30. 2 of the 5 games they're at 6 points fewer. But they're not the same offense without Schoaf. And Freeport. I think Freeport rolls in this game. Again, they're over that rugged start to their season, and I think this is going to go similar to the way it went last year for the Yellow Jackets. They roll over York 38-12.
Mike.
The biggest thing for Freeport is they're starting to get healthy again after that brutal loss they had against North Catholic, where not only did they lose a game that they could have won, but they lost a bunch of bodies in that game. They're starting to get those guys back, and the guys that they played hurt are starting to get healthy, like Schaffhauser and Ricky Hunter got it going last week. The return game got it going last week for Freeport. They got a lot of confidence last week. Schaffhauser, I'm continuing to be impressed with him, with his ability to run, his command of that offense, the touch he has on the deep ball. I think Freeport, like Mars, like John said about Mars, they're starting to hit their stride. I think they're going to roll too. I think they're going to win. I'm going to say 37-9.
Okay. York has given up 156 points in their last 3 games.
They have.
As you said, the Shove kid, he was remarkable. He's gone. They just don't have the offense to keep up with all the points their defense has given up. So I like Freeport in this game fairly easily, 38-16. Another Big East Conference matchup, North Catholic at Mount Pleasant. We're going to move the mic on first one. Mount Pleasant's actually my dad's alma mater, so I don't think it's going to be good news for him this week. North Catholic coming off an impressive defensive performance against Derry. 13-3, North Catholic beat Derry last week. Now they're going down to Mount Pleasant. Mike, who do you like here?
North Catholic is such a weird team this year to figure out. It's like from week to week, you don't know what you're going to get with them. One week, Zach Rocco throws for 300 yards. Next week, they run the ball well. One week, they give up a ton of points. Next week, they give up 3. You just don't know. They're really like helter-skelter. But I think, so it's really hard to predict what they're going to do. It's really hard to predict scores, too, with North Catholic, because I thought last week's game was going to be a little high scoring. It was 13-3. Mm-hmm. But I still think North Catholic is a better team. They're going to go on the road and they're going to win 28-16.
Trojans, Vikings.
I say Trojans, but I really don't think they're going to blow them out, because I think North Catholic, that was a pretty emotional win for them last week, beating Derry. As you guys well know, Derry knocked them off twice last week, including ending the season in the Whitfield playoffs. So I don't think North Catholic is going to be as emotionally vested in this game as they were last week, and that'll show on the scoreboard a little bit. But I still like the Trojans 27-13.
Kind of in the same boat as you. I don't think it's going to be a rout by any stretch. I just think that in the end, the Trojans have a few more playmakers than Mountain Pleasant's going to be able to handle. 32-20 Trojans. Karn City at St. Mary's. This is an interesting game. St. Mary's has St. Mary's has the new coach, Brian Dorick, who used to coach up at Brookville, right?
Chris Dorick, isn't it?
His son's Brian.
Right.
His
Chris
brother.
Dorick. Yeah.
Chris Dorick used to coach at Brookville.
Yeah,
now he's at St. Mary's.
There, yeah.
And now he's got this St. Mary's team off to a 3-2 start. Also, Karn City's record, also 3-2. John, you like the Gremlins to go on the road and get one here?
I'll tell you what, this is a tough game to call for me. It really is, because St. Mary's much improved. They're 3-2. They also excel at throwing the football. And like I said, I covered that Brookville KC game last Friday. Karn City had all kind of trouble covering the Brookville passing game. The St. Mary's passing game not quite as vaunted, but you look at the quarterback, Christian Kodriat, threw for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns against Clarion last week. I mean, so that's, even though they lost big, that's pretty impressive. But Karn City has beaten them 14 out of 15 meetings previously. They blew them out last year, 53-14. This year's game much more competitive, especially up there. But I like the Gremlins 28-20. But I think this would be a good game.
Mike.
Yeah, this isn't your older brother's St. Mary's team.
No.
This isn't a go up there, get a 49-6 win, and go home and celebrate St. Mary's team anymore. But Karn City does have a weakness against the pass, but nothing helps you get better at coverage than going up against a team like they did last week in Brookville and getting a lot of tape on what you did wrong. So they're going to correct a lot of what went wrong. And they're not facing another receiver like Ian Thrush this week. Who can get open against anybody. You could probably get open against college secondaries right now. He's that quick. Yeah. So it's a little apples and oranges there. I don't think Karn City is going to struggle as much, or not nearly as much, against St. Mary's passing game as they did against Brookville. And I don't see St. Mary's being able to stop Karn City's offense. I think they're hitting their stride too. So I see Karn City winning. It's not going to be 42-6. But they're going to win 35-14.
Okay, in years past, you guys remember this, St. Mary's, they'd go out and they'd throw the ball less than 10 times per game.
Yep.
Now they're throwing the ball. They have the ability to throw the ball. They have playmakers, obviously at the quarterback, receiver positions. And here's a stat that I'm focused on this week, and this might come back to bite me, but St. Mary's is averaging 223 passing yards per game.
Oh, yeah.
Karn City has 200 yards passing the entire season.
Yep.
So I think that St. Mary's' passing game is going to be a little too much. You're going to put a few too many points on the board for Karn City.
St. Mary's.
I'm picking St. Mary's 28-14. I think they're passing.
You're going to only give up 14 points to Karn City.
This is a gutsy pick.
Yeah.
Wow, you might be.
I think
revising your topic 2 on predictions.
I think St. Mary's is going to force Karn City to pass the ball, and it's not their strength. So their strength is running the ball, including Anthony Kaminsky, who had over 100 yards last week. But I think the Dutch get the win.
I applaud your going out on a limb there. I
Okay.
applaud that.
Okay.
We'll see. That's
All
going
right.
to be definitely a
Here's
game
what-
we're going to keep track
Here's
of.
what that limbs is doing. Our limbs are and
Okay.
Derek's
All
going
right.
to plummet. He's going to plummet on that.
Okay.
paper.
I think he's
All right.
bold. He made a bold prediction.
Yes, he did.
We gotta
I'll give him credit for that.
give him credit. We
Yeah,
gotta give him a
absolutely.
golf
Can
clap
we
for
get
a
to
bold
the next
prediction.
game, please? Here we go. Brookville last week took out by 1 point Carn City. Now they travel to Montauk. They should have just gotten a hotel down near
Yeah,
Emily.
really, they should.
There is no hotel in Emily. Never mind.
There might be.
Brookville at Montauk. John, you saw Brookville last week.
I did.
You know the struggles Montauk's had this year, even though they're coming off a win. Who do you like here?
Well, I'll tell you what, Montauk's got to pray for rain. Pray for rain, pray for wetness, pray for wind, pray for anything that will be anti-pass.
hurricane.
Anything that will be anti-pass down in the bottom of that stadium down over there at Montauk. Brookville can wing it. They're going to wing it Friday. That Thrush kid is unbelievable, and whether Jack Crew comes back at quarterback or not, Robert Kethrew for 365 against KC. This kid can throw the football as well. So Brookville wins 42-20.
Mike.
Yeah, if Carn City couldn't cover Ian Thrush, Montauk's not going to be able to cover Ian Thrush with the numbers they have in the secondary, that the banged up guys they have in the secondary. So I see Brookville putting the ball in the air a lot, often, scoring a lot and often. But I think Montauk will score a few points too. I think their offense is starting to come together. Now they might get their quarterback back. They might get Thompson back at quarterback after breaking his hand on the very first play of the season. He broke his non-throwing.
I'm telling you what, though.
Had surgery. So can I make my prediction?
Excuse me, make your prediction.
Can I make my
Go
prediction?
ahead.
Are you gonna let me finish?
My ink's getting dry.
Speak.
Brookville's gonna win. I'm gonna say 49-20.
But what I was about to say was before I really
Yeah,
cut off
you rudely
Mike, I
interrupted me.
do apologize for doing that. But I'm serious when I say Montauk needs a bad weather game, because I'll tell you what, Brookville
They're
can't
not
run.
gonna get it.
Brookville can't run the ball. This as well as they can throw it, they can't run it. So if it is by chance a bad weather game,
They're
that
not
could
gonna
change
get
things.
it. It's not gonna be better.
They should just take the old garden hoses down to that field a couple hours before the game.
One of those old ploys, yeah.
Yeah.
Brookville
Brookville.
Hurricanes to have a chance.
It's like the high-flying Raiders to beat the Montauk Warriors 31-10. Now we got the Battle of the Rockets. We got Titusville at Slippery Rock. Mike, you cover Slippery Rock. You did a lot of work with them. Who do you like here?
The Rockets.
Yeah, there you go.
This is, again, like I said about St. Mary's, this is not your older brother's Titusville either. This Titusville team is pretty decent. They're not the pushover that they once were. And Slippery desperately needs a win in this game after 2 straight rough losses, but I still think Slippery Rock gets it. It's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think Slippery Rock's going to win it, but they're going to win it 37-28.
John.
My score is somewhat similar to that. I mean, I agree with Mike's point. That Slippery Rock does need to win. This is a very important game for them, especially they got them at home. Titusville's got the long road trip here, and Slippery Rock playing at home, 2 straight losses. I see them bouncing back, righting the ship this week at the expense of Titusville, 34-21. Slippery Rock.
Titusville actually started the season with 3 straight wins, but those wins came against Sagertown, Northeast, and Cochranton. 3 teams with a combined record of 1-14.
Yeah.
Okay.
The games at Slippery Rock, which obviously benefits the Rockets, our Rockets, but this game could be played at the Titusville Mayor's backyard. I don't care where it's played. Slippery
I
Rock.
don't know if the Titusville Mayor has big enough yard to play football.
I hear he does, but that's up there. The Rockets of Slippery Rock beat the Rockets of Titusville 43-15.
So you're not buying what Titusville's selling.
I'm not.
You're not buying. Okay.
I'm not. They're too slick up there. Summit Academy. Actually, we got our last Friday game. We got Union AC Valley. We're going to pick them last. They're playing Saturday. Our last Friday game is Summit Academy at Avonworth. Summit's struggling. Avonworth's not. Does that change this week, John?
No, it does not change this week. But Summit's just having a tough time getting it going. They've played some high quality teams, and I think Summit will find the end zone a couple times, but it won't be enough. I'd pick Avonworth 35-12.
John's over here, Mike.
42-8 Avonworth. There's really not much else to say about it. I mean, Summit Academy is Summit Academy. I mean, they're struggling. They keep playing these good teams coming in or going there. They can't catch a break. I mean, 42-8.
Avonworth is undefeated. Now, last week Summit played East Allegheny. East Allegheny is one of those teams that's definitely going to make the playoffs, but they're an okay team. They're a decent team. This week, Summit's playing in the cream of the crop in that conference this week. Avonworth's a really good team, and I don't see Summit getting off the schneid here. I like Avonworth to win 40-14. Now for the game everybody's been waiting for.
All right.
Union AC Valley.
Yeah.
4-1, coming off a big. Most people would consider it an upset win over ECC, at least according to us. You picked it. You picked it last week. You picked it. They're going up to Port Allegheny for a Saturday night.
It's not Night Falcons. It's Falcon Knights.
I'm calling them Night Falcons because it's better.
How about we just call them Union AC?
They're Night Falcons.
They're going up to Port Allegheny for a Saturday afternoon game. Port Allegheny's been struggling. I believe Port Allegheny's actually 1-4. Union AC's 4-1. Who do you like, Mike?
Of course, I like Union AC Valley. Come on, the Falcon Knights.
There you go.
The Falcon Knights are rolling, and they're going to continue to roll. I predict 38-6.
The way you had that pause there, I was anticipating something much more clever than what came out of your mouth. But
No,
that's okay.
I was just emphasizing.
That's all right.
I was just emphasizing
Okay.
the proper nickname.
Okay, all right. I got you. I agree. Union. If Mike's driving the Union AC Valley bus, I'm climbing aboard and sitting in one of the middle seats because I am on the bandwagon now. Union AC Valley wins 27-12.
27-12. We don't have to make many P stops for you, do we?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm not that old.
Is there room for me on this bus?
That's coming later in life.
Sure, climb on board.
I picked against Union AC last week,
As did I.
And they were playing a very, formidable opponent in Elk County Catholic. This week they're playing a team that's pretty down, Port Allegheny, and I don't like the Gators' chances at all. I like Union AC to go north and come home celebrating a 37-7 win.
We do have to be aware of these Saturday games though, because they can be tricky. Remember when Union AC Valley took on a less than stellar Sheffield team and really struggled?
Yeah, that's true.
You got to watch these Saturday games sometimes.
So you want me to put in Port Allegheny for you?
No. I made my prediction, but I think it'll be closer than what you think it'll be.
All right, so that wraps up the previews for this week. We would like to promote our extended coverage in Butler's Sunday's Butler Eagle, as well as Facebook, Butler Eagle Sports Facebook page, coming up this weekend. Now we're going to move on to our What About Another Sport. And we've talked about the success of our area soccer teams in the past, but I want to highlight one team, and that's Mars Girls. They're 6-0-1 entering tonight's game. They play tonight, so 42 goals in 7 games. So, John, there's a lot of factors that go into making a soccer program really good, but what, in your mind, is the most important factor that's kept Mars Girls Soccer on top for so long?
One name, Blair Gerlach. Their head coach means everything to that program. As you well know, he's big into travel soccer, coaches and runs a very prestigious travel soccer program locally. And not all of his girls play for him. I'm not trying to suggest that. Some of them do. But almost all of these Mars girls every year are involved in travel soccer in some way, shape, or form. These girls are into soccer, many of them 365, well, not 365 days a year, but throughout the year.
They practice on Christmas?
No.
Come on!
366 on leap years.
If Blair had his druthers, they probably wouldn't be practicing on Christmas. But these girls are just they're into the game. They're very well schooled. Tradition of that program speaks for itself. They won state titles, Whitfield titles. I see by your notes here, they've outscored their section opponents 39-3 so far this year. Yeah. Blair Gerlach is running that show, and as long as he's there, this program will continue to be at the high level that it's been.
Mike, your take on Mars girls
So I'm
soccer?
distracted by your doodles over there.
Just-
I gotta say it.
that's the face of the coaches
that's
who
the
play
face-
Mars girls.
That's a pretty funny doodle you got there. I kind of echo what John's saying. Better Gerlach, but to a greater extent, the club soccer influence on Mars. If you don't play club soccer, you're probably not going to play for Mars.
It's hard to make your team. Yeah, it's hard to make your team if you don't play. Yeah.
And playing that much soccer at that high level, of course, you're going to be well-rounded players. You're going to hit high school season with a lot of soccer on your cleats, and you're going to be doing what they're doing. You're going to be 39-3 scoring people. You're going to be 6-0-1. Who did they tie? You know who they
Seneca Valley.
Seneca Valley, that's right.
There you go.
It's a non-conference, non-section.
Right.
And then it's a bigger school, 6-0 section play.
Yeah.
So I think it's the club. These girls eat, breathe, and drink soccer. They love the sport. Gerlach instills in them the love for the sport. I have not talked to one Mars girls soccer player, current or graduated, that has anything bad to say about Bear Gerlach. They always say he's fun to play for. His optimism is infectious. They would do anything for him to win.
He's a great coach.
He's a great coach.
Well, look at the number of Mars girls that they've gone on to college soccer too. There's been tons of
Every year
at different levels of college too.
Mm-hmm.
So Blair Gerlach, yes, club soccer also.
I got to think that a lot of the teams they play, I mean, there's girls that play club for other teams, other high school teams. I don't know if those other varsity teams have pretty much an entire varsity roster filled with girls that have so much experience by the time they get to high school.
Yep.
I mean, some of these girls are starting to play soccer when they're 5 or 6 years old. The girls, and a lot of them play for Northern Still, which is who Blair he coaches through Northern Still, and they know what to expect when they get to the varsity program. I think that's big. They know what he expects of them, what their role is going to be, and like you said, as long as he's coach there, I don't see Mars. I mean, and they're not going to win a state title every year. They're not going to win a Whitbill title every year. Last year they lost the Whitbill title, but they're going to be in the conversation for teams that can play deep into November as long as he's there.
They just got a great system there. I mean, the older girls in the program work with the younger girls coming up too. I mean, they do. They just have it going on. Mars girls soccer they just got all the ducks in a row, and they're just cruising.
I have my ducks in a row too. And that's it for us this week. Upon further review, join us next week when the boss man's back in the hot seat.
There you go.
And I'll be doodling.